Hello and welcome to another Snyder Cut Roundtable session. This week, I'm Daniel from the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, and we've got two other Roundtable members today. And the first one, you've seen him before on the previous Snyder Roundtables. It is Haruko. Welcome back.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me back, guys. It's great to be back. It's been a while since I've been doing any kind of podcast situation here lately, so if I'm a little rusty, be patient with me, but thank you guys. It's good to see you guys.
It's all good. It's going to be a lot of fun. And this other guest, it's been a little while since we've done it, but it's always so much fun. Like I always want to just do, if I had the time to do something weekly with Manu, I could. And one of the members that I especially connect with outside of all of this fandom, it's one of those testaments of people that you make connections with and that really help you out through stuff outside of even just the fandom. And he's an amazing host on the Exiles Network, among the other projects. You've seen him before on the Snyder Cut Roundtables. It is Manu.
Hey, man, how's it going, Dan? Thank you very much for that introduction. You got me blushing a little bit. I don't know if it shows on camera, but it's always a pleasure talking to you. You know, you're my boy, and nothing but love. And Haruko, it's the first time that I get to talk to you, but I watched your last roundtable, and I'm really glad to be here. And I'm mostly just glad that I'm here and I'm not a host. So that's pretty cool.
Also want to give a thanks to Andre. He unfortunately had to dip out, but he was sad that he wasn't able to make it to this roundtable. But huge thanks to Andre as well for stepping in during this roundtable that we have today, but wanted to give him a quick shout out. But today's is, I think, the first one since Zach dropped that still image of Steppenwolf. So I think today's roundtable is going to be just very loose, very fun. A lot of the things that they're going to announce, they're going to wait for DC FanDome, which we're going to touch on, I think, near the, right after the Steppenwolf news. But this still from the film, I think it is one of the, I know he said it was low res, but it sounds like this is almost like a finished still. He's seen the high res version and he shared it out there, further, removing that doubt that this is the Steppenwolf we're going to see in Zack Snyder's Justice League. What were your initial thoughts when you saw that dropped on Vero? Start off with Haruko.
Yeah, when I saw that Steppenwolf, man, I mean, it made me realize that we are getting something much more than what was even originally intended. Like, we're getting something so much better than even we could have imagined at the time. And I'm not trying to disparage anyone who likes the theatrical Steppenwolf.
Oh no, please do.
I thought the design was a little cheesy. I thought he looked a little too funny for a guy that we're supposed to be scared of. I mean, I'm more scared of Ben Affleck's Batman than I am whatever that Steppenwolf was. I'm just glad we're getting closer to the one that we saw in BVS and in the epilogue scene. I would say epilogue scene with Lex Luthor in the scouting ship, in a more demonic kind of thriller version of this character from the comics. And I know there's been a lot of discourse about the design and its comic book accuracy or whatever. But people have to understand that they're called adaptations, not direct translations. We're not dealing with the Bible here. We're dealing with comic books. And when you adapt comic books into other mediums, they have to fit into the pre-established style of that medium. And the way Steppenwolf looks in the comic books, he just looks so silly in the comics. I can't take that seriously. I'm so proud of this design. I'm happy that Zach brought it back. And I'm happy that he got to do it the way he wanted to. And it's going to be great, honestly.
Yeah, that was the weird thing on Twitter where all of a sudden everyone gave a shit about what Steppenwolf looked like. Like, I don't know.
Everyone was a Steppenwolf super fan. I'm like, I come back to Twitter, I'm like, what the hell? Why is there an expert panel on what Steppenwolf should look like? Jesus.
I was talking to one of my coworkers, and he said that the Steppenwolf in that other version that we saw in theaters, it looks like an action figure. And I was like, that's probably the fucking point right there, where they told them they needed to make it a certain way and something that would translate into Lego and action figures and merch or whatever. That's at least what it looked like, I think, to a lot of people. And this is a Steppenwolf that isn't what it's not to sell toys. It's not to, it's whatever's going to serve the story, what's going to serve the film. How about you, Manu? What are your thoughts on Zack Snyder's Steppenwolf, the crew Steppenwolf?
When I saw it, I think my first thought was hallelujah. It was hallelujah, and it had absolutely nothing to do with how I originally felt about the Steppenwolf that we got in the theatrical cut. It was more like it was just a confirmation that we're going to get Zack's Justice League. That, there's no more. I'm gonna curse, but there's no more bullshit. There's no more pussyfooting. We're getting Zack Snyder's Justice League, and him sharing that design. That's what it was. It was him confirming, I am firmly back in the driver's seat. This is what I wanted originally, and we're putting it in. And he's been doing that. I mean, we saw that with that Alfred scene when we see a black suit Superman that he dropped that at I forgot what they call it, at Justice Con. I think that it's just confirms that we're gonna get unfiltered and uninhibited Zack Snyder. And for any fan of Batman v Superman or of Zack's work, you can't help but be excited by that. And I thought that he just looked fantastic. Like, he said it was low res. I can't wait to see like the full finished, fleshed out version. And I want to see him in action. I think that even like when you watch the theatrical cut, it looks like they kept a lot of Zack's action scenes that he shot, but there's like this tamed down version of it. And it's so easy to imagine that Steppenwolf being so much more dangerous, so much more vicious. Especially that scene with the Amazons. Even in the theatrical cut, it looked great. But I'm really excited to see that full scene how it was originally intended, because even when you watch a theatrical cut, you can see that there's a lot of cuts in that scene. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that looks from Zack's perspective.
Yeah, I think you hit it right there, where it represents that there is truly no compromise. I think if he wasn't able to put in the original Steppenwolf that we saw in BVS, he probably wouldn't have agreed to do this version for HBO Max. And I don't know the details to any of the negotiations that went on, but it's like they really said, yeah, here you go, have at it, make what you intended to make, including the original design of Steppenwolf, which I'm sure, we had a lot of that pre-rendered footage, but it's still not cheap or easy to just make that version happen, and thankfully we are getting it. On the screenshot itself, a lot of people saw that it has the property of HBO Max now. That part changed on it. What were your thoughts on that, Manu?
Whatever it takes. If that's what it had to happen for us to finally get this. Thank you, HBO Max, and thank you, AT&T. I'm a very, very happy subscriber.
yeah, I got it right here. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. I'm a very happy subscriber. I subscribed the day after the announcement was made, and I have no regrets. And if that's what it took, if that's what was needed, if somebody needed to come in there and change the structure of that company for us to finally get what we've been asking for, then they could put HBO Max wherever the hell they want.
How about you, Haruko? Do you think this means that really he's giving the credit and the thanks to HBO Max over WB?
Absolutely, because Warner Bros. Is incompetent, so they did not deserve any credit for anything. I'm sorry. Even after the announcement of the cut happened, everybody was talking about HBO Max. Nobody was thanking Warner Bros. Nobody was like, thank you, WB. Listen, that's what they should have done to begin with, right? This is what they should have gave Zack his version to begin with. So they don't need to get praised for doing something that they should have done to begin with. So I'm actually like, I mean, maybe it's the pettiness in me, but I'm glad it's property of HBO Max and not property of Warner Bros. Because they don't deserve it at all.
Damn, Haruko is petty. Like, that's next level pettiness, man. Like, we won. Let it go, man. Let it go.
In that same screenshot, you also see the timestamp on there, right? And it was over an hour into the film, into this cut of the movie, which is way different, right, than the theatrical cut. What do you think that means for the story and how it might be rearranged in the final product, Haruko?
Yeah, it kind of intrigued me because, like, now what happens before that? Right. Because as we know in the theatrical, they get to that part pretty fast. Because obviously they rush through the movie. They get to that part pretty fast. So
I think in the first half hour, I think.
Yeah,
like 22 minutes.
22, Jesus.
22 minutes is that early? Damn.
Yeah, that has me wondering, like, what is going on before then. And it gets me excited because I'm thinking, like, you know, dialogue and character development, which I love, and like more background as to like the new gods or whatever they're going to be exploring in that, with the whole dark side and the history lesson and the invasion. Yeah, that just got me really excited. I thought I was confused of where the timestamp started because somebody was saying, "Oh, it's 2 hours in." Somebody was saying it was 1 hour in. I think it would be crazier if it was actually 2 hours in, but whatever. Yeah, it has me really intrigued and is really excited as to what we're gonna get before Steppenwolf arrives. If in fact that's the scene where he actually arrives, you know.
Right. And then I think they were saying that in his cut of the film, we get the Superman resurrection earlier on than what we got in the theatrical. So maybe that'll be in that first hour, in the first of what we're looking at over 4 hours now of Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is awesome. You know, I think some of the scenes are going to be in different places than what we saw in the theatrical cut. And I think that's great. Whatever length that he needs to do to get there to tell that story, then this is the platform for it. The HBO Max is where you do it. And then from there, you know, they can all move into releasing a full Blu-ray or 4K, whatever they want to do. But first, release it on the platform that is making this happen. I think it makes a lot of sense. And the timestamp itself, the fact that it's included in there, it's not hidden. I think that speaks to the confidence level of this is where the scene lies. And this is what we're telling you, that there's way more before and even more after it. And I think it's awesome. That Steppenwolf bid, I think we're going to see the high-res version at DC FanDome. It's about a week away now. And we've all got our little schedules all set up. And we immediately did that, I think, at the time of this recording earlier this morning. But out of all those DC FanDomes, obviously Zack Snyder's Justice League, we've got a panel at, I think, 5:45.
Eastern.
Are you Eastern time, exactly? Are you going to be there? Are you going to be at work? How are you going to watch this? How are you going to make this happen? Manu, is that the panel you're most looking forward to?
I mean, obviously it is. I mean, it's been 4 years that we've been waiting for it. So definitely bring it on. I can't wait for that panel. That one. And I think the Suicide Squad video game is also something that I'm looking forward to a lot. I love the Batman Arkham series. I really do. But, you know, I feel like, you know, you've done Batman, like do something else, you know, like I know a lot of us were hoping for a Superman game. I think that would have been something really fantastic. But I really feel like the Suicide Squad is such a unique storytelling premise that you can use to tell, it would be like a great idea for a video game. And I'm really glad that's going to be next up for Rockstar.
How about you, Haruko? Which panel? Obviously, Zack Snyder's Justice League. You're looking forward to that. Anything else that caught your eye?
Yeah, the Flash panel, man, because this movie's gotten delayed so many times. It was supposed to come out earlier this year, 2 years ago, whenever else. Like, I am so tired of waiting for this movie. We've had
on their seventh director. I think yes, director, eighth screenwriter.
Jesus, it's just like, okay, I'm just ready for it to come out now. I don't care if it's good or bad anymore. I just want to see it, honestly. Like, I'm just so drained out chasing this movie around. Like, and it's funny how it's the Flash and it's like so late. It's a movie about the fastest man alive, and they just cannot get this movie out. And obviously I'm excited to see Ezra Miller, which I think he's going to be on the panel. I might be wrong. I think it's 15 minutes, so I'm not expecting something wild and crazy, but I really just want to find out about it. And like Manu said, the Suicide Squad game, because I am tired of Batman games. I'm honestly drained of Batman in general, Batman everywhere. I'm excited to see what they do with this Suicide Squad thing. Fingers crossed they show gameplay and not just a cinematic trailer. Mm-hmm. I have to say, this is going to sound a little relevant, but I'm tired of cinematic trailers when they reveal games. I just want to see gameplay. I don't care about cinematic trailers. Okay, going back to what I was saying before. I'm also excited about Black Lightning because I like that show a lot. So I want to see what they have in store for next season if they're going to show a trailer. Yeah, those are pretty much the top 3 or 4, including the Snyder Cut. Obviously, that's at the highest. Yeah, I'm looking forward to DC FanDome just to see the experience, like how exactly it's going to go down. It's an interesting concept, and I like how. I like how inclusive they're being with the fan base. Yeah.
Yeah, I was tweeting to DC like they better beef up their servers because it's going to be the Snyder Cut fandom right there at like not only that Zack Snyder's panel, but some of the writers that may or may not have been involved in this, and then in some of the other panels that are going to be even non-Snyder Cut related. I mean, we're going to be there. I don't think we're going to show up for just that one panel. I think we're going to be there for all the DCEU offerings, whether or not, you are looking forward to them or you're not. I think that the movement is going to make its presence known. Mm-hmm. And I think it should be. I think that they should make their voices heard at DC FanDome as well. If anything, just to show your support for Zach and the rest of the crew that worked on the film, but also to let them know that we want more of this. We want more, Zack Snyder's Justice League is just the beginning. What are your thoughts on that, Manu?
Well, I think you hit the nail right on the head there. And I'd also like to add that I feel like for a lot of people, myself included, we kind of felt a little, pushed away from DC. I think that there's a lot of people in the movement that felt that, we weren't wanted or needed, or that, DC didn't really care about us or our money, to be perfectly honest.
Right.
They not only kicked Zach off of his movie, but they took this incredible tonal shift into their films that basically sent quite a clear message as to what they wanted. So I think that a lot of people, myself included, felt very targeted by that. And I think that for many of us, this kind of feels like we're able to come back. I think even Jim Lee kind of spoke on this when he was asked about the Snyder Cut a few months ago. And he said that if you're a fan of anything that has anything to do with DC, then you're a DC fan. And I kind of feel like this event is perfect for that. I mean, there's something for everyone who's ever loved anything from DC, from the comics to the TVs to the movies. Whatever you love, you can find somewhere or something within the schedule that will satisfy you. And I think that it's such that's really what is needed now more than ever. It's just accepting everyone and allowing everyone to love what they love and allowing people to celebrate DC again. And I really hope that the movement and all of the people that participated do show up and do speak up and do help propel DC once more, and to show them that, if you listen to your customer base, there's a lot of good that can come from that. And I think that other companies and other studios can learn from that lesson, that, we're not saying you have to listen to all of our demands because, some stuff is pretty out there. but I think that, HBO Max and AT&T and DC should be rewarded for doing something that no one has really done before. And I'll definitely be there, and I'll be giving my support.
There you go. And Haruko, you made yourself vocal about how you felt with Warner Brothers and all that. Do you think this panel is kind of like a start on, I guess the healing process as a DC fan, just to kind of they're doing good, they're starting to do good again?
Yeah, I mean, for a long time, I felt like as a DC fan, like Manu said, I felt ostracized and like an
That's what I was looking
outcast.
for. That's what I was looking
Yeah.
for. That's a good word. Thank you.
I felt I like it just felt like everybody else was eating good and we were just like we were basically like we were just treated like garbage for the last 3 years. I can't do math correctly, but you know what I'm trying to say. So yeah, this feels like it does feel like a healing process. You know, I mean, even within the DC fandom itself, you know, you'll hear all the time about how, well, they're just Snyder fans. They're not actually DC fans. And like, I know a ton of people who have the same enthusiasm for every DC product as they do for the Snyder Cut. And I think it's time to, you know, get that negative stigma away from because like just like Jim Lee said, if you like anything having to do with DC, then you are a DC fan. I don't see how being a fan of the Snyder Cut means you're not a real DC fan. It's the Snyder Cut of Justice League. We're not talking about the Snyder Cut of Dawn of the Dead. We're talking about Justice League, which is a DC property and is a movie about DC Comics characters. So, I mean, really, like, well, I just never understood that personally. And I also wanted to say that to the previous question, I'm also looking forward to the Aquaman panel because I want to see them address certain things that I've been seeing.
Now that you brought that up, I'm interested in that Shazam panel. I want to hear what Zach Levy has to say for himself. The streets don't forget, Levy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to see what happens there. But to go back to the question at hand, yeah, I feel like it's definitely lifted my enthusiasm as a DC fan, which has been shot for a long time. It kind of is still shot. I mean, I'm definitely not as into DC as I used to be as a result of all this, unfortunately, but I'm hoping I can get back there. Fingers crossed. And the fandom, like I said, it just seems like they're trying to bring all the fans of all these DC properties together, like the multiverse coming together. And it's got a lot of epic proportions. I've been looking forward to it since they announced it. So, I mean, I feel like a kid again. I'm looking forward to it.
That's a great point. The multiverse, I feel I completely forgot about it. They're making a huge deal of that. They keep putting that word out there, multiverse. Right. And either of you can jump in. Do you think that just means that they are saying that everything DC counts as a fan, just like Jim Lee was saying? Or do you think that maybe there's something more at play, kind of like we got the confirmation of Michael Keaton, for example, showing up in The Flash? Do you think that that's also a part of it and they're just kind of trying to theme it all as everything DC may or may not start playing with, you know, other properties that are a part of this other corner of the DC universe? Or do you think this is just a celebration of everything DC?
I think either or could work. I think that I'm sure they've actually definitely discussed about what to do with the multiverse, and it can get tricky, especially when you're trying to do it at this level, because you have to think like DC goes back 80 years. You know, so there's so many things going on. There's so many movies and so many TV shows and so many comics, and how all of that will play together. And you have to think about how just the normal audience will react to maybe to the overload. So I'm not sure how deeply they're going to play in the multiverse, but I really do think that that marketing it this way is the best way, because it eliminates any of the debates and the conversations and all that stupid stuff that we heard back in 2016 about, oh, that's not my Batman, oh, Superman wouldn't do that, and all of this whatnot. It effectively like gets rid of all that, and it just shows that if you like this version of Superman, you're right, and it's valid, and it's available to you. But if you like this other version as well, you could love that too. And I really think that this is like the best approach from DC and from AT&T. You alienate no one in the process, and you might even like allow fans to like, I don't know, feel more comfortable about even liking something that might be out of the norm. I mean, Dan, you would know more about this than I do, but I'm sure like those Elseworld comics always do gangbusters, right? I'm guessing.
A lot of there's one coming out called Tales from the Multiverse, and it's basically that. It's Elseworlds one shots of these, and people like seeing twisted versions of stories they recognize. Like as much as Twitter might say otherwise, like the readers love it. You know, how big is Red Sun Superman? Like it's huge.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely massive with readers at least.
Yeah, and I've always been a fan of when they try to switch things up and like change the lore or like just try things. And I think that that's the best thing about comics is that, you know, while the characters might have traits that you'll always recognize, you can make changes and explore different versions and different thematic representations of who they are and who they can be. And it kind of felt for a while like we had lost that. But I kind of feel like they're more ready and more prepared to really give this thing a real shot at like touching different people from different demographics, different backgrounds, and different interests as well.
Mm-hmm. Do you get that same message from Multiverse, Haruko?
Yeah, I think it could be both a message to the fans that everyone is a valid DC fan and something more. They have the advantage over Marvel when it comes to this multiverse stuff. Like they have a pretty huge lead if they can establish a multiverse. And I think that the Crisis on Infinite Earths, the CW crossover, was a big leap in them coming out with that, with the whole multiverse idea. How they had Ezra Miller's Flash show up and all that. And you know, I didn't like the crossover personally. That's just my personal opinion. But
tell us how you really feel, man.
But it's pretty clear what direction they're trying to head in with their. I mean, they're even going to have a panel dedicated to explaining the multiverse specifically, called Multiverse 101. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, absolutely. I think this could be hinting at something more, and I'm interested to see where they go with this distinction that they have over the competition.
Before we go into what we think the future of the Snyderverse may or may not be, because there's a couple of secret panels that are on there or secret DC projects that they haven't revealed yet. When we get that first full trailer to Zack Snyder's Justice League, what is the one thing that you're like, I would love to see this in that trailer? I've been waiting years to see that on that trailer in motion. What is it for you, Haruko?
The Flash, man. The Flash running through the Speed Force or running through time or wherever he's going. I just want to see Barry Allen, man. That's the character that even in the theatrical version, before I even knew what was going on, I was looking forward to him the most. Obviously, there's Cyborg. If I had to list them, Flash first, Cyborg second. I mean, those are just the two I'm looking forward to the most, just to see. Because the way Zach tackles the physics of the Speed Force, I think is very interesting from just a little bit we've seen. Mm-hmm. And I think to see him expand on that and the way he described the time travel aspect too, I'm just excited to see all that. I love Flash. I love Speed Force. I love time travel. So it's the whole package for me when it comes to that.
Yeah, I think that's going to be especially cool with Flash fans because as you're watching the other version of the movie, you can tell where they really changed and tweaked the character from the original cut. So I think it's going to be like, it's going to feel like a whole different Flash, you know, like the Barry Allen that fits in this universe. And I think that's going to be really cool. How about you, Manu?
Cyborg.
Heart of the film.
Cyborg. It's got to be Cyborg. I really like that character first and foremost. But I love Ray Fisher, and I really feel like he's been part of this journey with us throughout most of it. I mean, if you think about it in a lot of ways, him ripping his shirt open at Comic-Con to reveal the I Love Zack Snyder t-shirt underneath it, you could kind of say like that was like the starting shot of all of everything that came afterwards. So to finally have him and have his performance and all of the work that he put into it, because I don't know how much people know this, but even before they started shooting, Ray was in New York with Chris Terrio working on the script. They worked on the script together to get this character just right. So that he put so much of himself into that role. And I'm sure that he was heartbroken to see what had happened to it in the theatrical cut. Not even to mention going into all the stuff that we're seeing coming out about what happened behind the scenes. So um, I just want Cyborg and Ray Fisher to have that spotlight, to have the chance to shine, and to just show the world why this character is so important, and why Zack wanted him to be the center of a Justice League movie that had Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman in it. And yet Zack said Cyborg needs to be the center of it. And I think that to see him get the spotlight that he deserves is going to be incredible. And that, and also I guess Cyborg's relationship with Flash, because we know that at the time when this universe was taking shape, the Flash solo was going to Cyborg was going to be part of that, and their relationship was going to be very important. I've read some quotes from Ray where he talked about the differences between their struggles, that Flash's struggle was more interior, that he was always worried and scared of being sucked into the Speed Force and never coming back. And while Cyborg's stigma was much more external and had to do with how he looked and how he felt and if he was still human. And I think that having that dichotomy between those two characters be the center of a Flash movie would have been something really amazing. And we know how they were planning out these movies. The seeds had to be planted in Justice League for it to resonate as hard as they could have. So I'm really looking forward to that relationship growing as well.
The way you put that, they better announce Cyborg as well, like the solo Cyborg film right at DC FanDome.
I'm with you. I agree.
Yeah, and when we see that cut of Justice League, that's all just going to mesh so well together with these characters, exactly as you were explaining it. And then just to see it in action, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, and we saw that he had like Cyborg with the 4 arms.
Right.
Like that's the stuff that you want to see. That's like pure comic book goodness. I don't understand why they cut that out. Like we've seen the storyboards of him flying next to the Batmobile with the 4 arms and the mask covering his face. Like, and it's just it just feels like just give it to us already.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's going to be another great thing of, you mentioned Ray Fisher and the rest of the cast as well, where I think, as Kelly was just saying, that it really truly is a film for justice, not just for the title and all that, but like it's doing right with a lot of the crew, the actors, everyone that worked on the film. And by them releasing it, I think it is, regardless of what ends up happening on the more serious side, on the background of, how people were treated. And I hope we do see more of that and the right steps are taken in that aspect too. But I think when we get the film itself also, it's going to be more of a celebration of these people, of these characters, of the crew members. Everyone wins with this release. Everyone that's been following this and understands the background, even a shred of the background to what that went into making this happen, I think they're going to really kind of understand the how important this is, not just for the fans, but also for any other creative out there.
I mean, I can say that I had the chance to speak to Ray Porter after the announcement, and the happiness and the relief in his voice, it really made everything that we went through completely worth it. So like you said, it's justice in a lot of ways.
Right, absolutely, and I cannot wait. Haruko, there with the Secret DC project, what do you hope we get announced in that? Do you hope it's a Snyderverse thing?
Yeah, my first hope is that it's something connected to the Snyder. I almost said the Snyder Force. The Snyderverse.
I kind of like that name though, the Snyder Force. I kind of like that.
And my second hope is that maybe it's David Ayer's version of Suicide Squad, which is what I see that the majority, from what I've seen, is what people are speculating the most. I'm not getting my hopes up for that, but yeah, I'm hoping it's either one of those two, and I'll be happy with either or. And if it's something else, I hope it's something that if it doesn't excite me, hopefully it excites someone else. Maybe it's a Superman thing that they're getting ready to announce. Maybe it's something else. Either way, I'm interested to see exactly what it is that they've been. Do we know if it's a movie? Because from what I saw, it just says DC Comics. It says DC Comics thing. Like,
there were a couple of spots where.
Oh, okay.
There were a couple of open spots.
Okay. Yeah, I was not paying attention to. I was just skimming through the descriptions and adding them to my schedule. So,
it says to be announced.
Okay.
So, and yeah, like Manu was saying, it's a couple of things.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm hoping it's a Snyderverse or Snyder Force thing, either or.
Hashtag Snyder Force.
How about for you, Manu?
Well, I would love it if it was something Snyder related, but I still have this feeling that HBO Max may be waiting to see how the Snyder Cut is received before deciding if they will carry on. That's just, what part of my mind wants to think. But like we mentioned, there's just so many directions and things that they could do. And that I really think that now they're in a position of they're in like a positive position where they have the fans back on board. They have a lot of people that are just waiting with a bated breath to see what they're going to do next. Personally, I hope it's a Cyborg movie. Personally, I would love it if Batfleck came back. I would die a happy man if we heard that Ben Affleck was coming back as Batman. But I feel like Haruko said, even if I'm not excited by it, as long as somebody else is and it's somebody else's project that they're really interested in, that's all that matters. It's but yeah, give me something Snyderverse related.
Yeah, I'm trying to play it safe too and not set up an expectation.
Yeah,
then,
exactly.
I'll be, I could be disappointed, but the fact that we are getting the non-compromised version, right, of Zack Snyder's Justice League, I don't think there isn't any way that we don't see any seeds planted for a Justice League 2 or 3. Even if it doesn't come about, I still think we will get that set up because it's his version of the film. It's what he wanted to do. And yeah, you're probably right. It's probably too early for that to be the announcement of, and you're getting 2 and 3 as well.
Yeah.
But I think it is more likely, as much as it seems like a long shot, that it's Ayer's cut of the film, just because if we got Zack's, and it sounds like Ayer's is more, will require a little bit less work to release. I think that is definitely doable. But when you said Ben Affleck,
it was late in the game when they started changing Ayer's stuff.
Yeah.
So I forgot to mention, I would love it if it was Ayer's version of Suicide Squad. I remember seeing that first trailer at Comic-Con, and I was like, this is amazing. This is like, because we got that one and the BVS Comic-Con trailer that same day, and that was like one of the best days to be a DC fan.
Right.
And that they went away from that. Like it would be great to kind of have a chance to come back to that original structure.
And you mentioning that the Batman, like Batfleck, shown back up, I think that would probably be for me the biggest surprise, because it sounds like he was. When and if Ben ever says anything more about what happened with Justice League, I think we'll see that there was a lot of hurt there, 4 years ago. And that journey that he went on is very, heavy and personal. And I think if he were to come back, I feel like that would be a huge positive sign for, not just his own internal healing that he went through in this journey, but I think for the rest of the cast members as well. I think that would be a good confirmation from all of them of support and of, truly more good coming out of this.
I mean, especially like now that we're hearing more and more about just how toxic that set was during the reshoots, and not to mention what happened with Zack, that we still don't exactly know all of the details. And even other stories that with interferences with his own script that he had for that Batman from a certain someone. When you like take all of these things into account, if I were him, I might have wanted to leave too. I might have wanted to leave too, but I really believe that maybe after, like you said, after healing and returning, like I think that would show just how the ship is kind of like righting itself, that they're making these decisions and maybe becoming more welcoming to this side of the DC universe.
Yeah, because it sounds like Ben signed up for a certain vision and a certain trajectory of films, and when as soon as it's strayed from that, he's like, "Well, that's not what I signed up for." So
Right.
I'm out. So
not to mention that Zach had to convince him to take the role in the first place.
Right.
So I completely understand why he would have left under the circumstances that we're seeing more and more of.
Yeah, absolutely. As we kind of round out the end of the roundtables today, is there anything else that you wanted to really touch on and discuss before we eventually go nuts and get 100%, 1000% busy with DC FanDome's reveals? How about you, Haruko?
I want to say about the Ben Affleck thing. It was pretty obvious to me that Ben was truly there for Zach, if you know what I'm saying. And when it became obvious that that they were going to not only just deviate, but just the way they did it was so disrespectful. Like all the course correcting they've come out saying like, oh well, it's gonna be more about hope and optimism, as if Man of Steel and BVS had no hope in them at all. Like it was more about just like how personal they got, just like the sly under the table remarks, having actors from the CW insult the movies. It was a whole circus, and if you were to come back, honestly, I don't think I could contain my excitement, for one, and for two, that's like the Man of Steel, the whole Man of Steel BVS era is what got me in as a comic book fan. Like I was not into comic books before that, and like Manu mentioned, the 2015 Comic-Con. It's just one of the greatest weekends ever. Just amazing time to be not even just a DC fan, but just a fan of the mythology in general. So if Ben were to come back, I mean, that's it for me. I'm on board with whatever they're going to do with him. I mean, I'm on board.
And how about you, Manu? Anything else that you wanted to touch on before we close out?
I guess like I feel like there's more stuff that came out today with the whole Ray Fisher situation. I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk about that a little bit more. Ray had a tweet today that I think it was today or yesterday, where he talked about being called into Geoff Johns' office and basically having his career threatened.
That's a crime. That's a crime, by the way.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's actually a crime in California to do that. To threaten somebody for expressing workplace grievances. So if Geoff Johns did do this, he is a criminal. That is a crime. And it doesn't matter if he made your favorite Flash comic 20 years ago. He's a bad person if he did it.
Well, I mean, Haruko said what I had in mind. It's just been very disheartening for me a little bit, because what Ray's doing, I feel, is necessary. We hear a lot of stuff that happens on Hollywood sets, especially in the past few years. We've seen the Me Too movement and so on and so forth. A lot of misplaced abuse and just people not being treated with the respect and dignity they deserve. And to kind of see him standing up for himself and speaking out about his experience and what he went through, and having people not believe him or disparage him or try to make him seem like he's just trying to take advantage of a situation, or I think is incredibly unfair, and that he deserves better than that as a man. And I would say that about anyone who wanted to speak up against like powerful forces. I mean, he's going up against Geoff Johns and Joss Whedon, who has been, in the Hollywood sphere for 30 years. And I think that he's been very brave, and I really wish that people would listen to him and that give him a chance to make his case. I know that he can't say everything that he would like to say right now. I know that and I just hope that he's taking the proper steps to make this come out the way that it should. And I just wish that, more people would be willing to listen and support him, regardless of the fact of the people that he's going up against. I mean,
right.
It really sucks like I totally understand. Like if you like Geoff Johns' work, I like Geoff Johns' work. I love the New 52. I love Buffy the Vampire from Joss Whedon and Angel, and even the Avengers, the original. I think is a very fine movie. I
Let me
do.
close this out then.
My bad. I understand enjoying their work, but I like, like Ray has been saying, the accountability has to mean more than our entertainment, and I'm really, proud of him for taking such a stance, and I really hope that things come to a head and that this situation is resolved.
I think that is going to be a big landmark for the industry as this continues to grow, and whether or not other cast members come forward with their own experiences. I think it sounds like he has more information behind what happened. And if anyone doesn't speak up, he was there,
Yeah, he was there. Yeah.
He can one day tell that full story, and whatever steps, as you mentioned, he needs to take to get there. And I think we will figure it out eventually. The truth will come out. And I think that that's going to impact the people it needs to impact in the proper ways. It's taken years for this to happen, but how many instances have we not known about where these things happen and no justice comes about? And I think this is going to be huge for not just for Ray, but for other people in the industry and other people that worked on the set, that maybe next time this happens with another, person in power, they're not going to hesitate to, say something. And I think takes a huge amount of courage for Ray to be doing this, because, as he was mentioning, and people have mentioned already, of that, there's sure there's a lot to lose, but the only reason for him to come out for this is for the truth to come out. He's not gay. He's not going to get 15 movies if he comes out with this.
Exactly. On the contrary, it might hurt his career. And
right.
And there's no need for him to do this. I think that's the most important thing. There's no need for him to do this. He won. Like the Snyder Cut is coming, and hopefully that gives him, more opportunities in the future for his career. He didn't have to speak out, but he chose this route. And I think that, under these circumstances, you have to at least be open to listening. I'm not saying believe him right away.
Yes.
I'm not saying
you don't have to believe him. You just don't disregard everything he's saying. Don't just I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's because he didn't want to say booyah." Like, okay, hold on a second. First of all, no. Secondly, this is how people in power get away with things, because they have all these people that if any dissenting opinion, any dissenting person, they get shut down. And, we're not saying, oh, believe everything he's saying automatically, but at least listen, have an open mind that maybe these people that you idolize aren't as perfect as because they inspired your childhood.
Yeah. And I'd also like to add about the Booyah situation. Like I mentioned earlier, Ray took a big part in crafting the character of Cyborg. He was there during the script process. So if they had decided not to have Cyborg say booyah, I'm sure there was a very good reason why he felt that even though it does go into his comic book roots, I'm sure there was a very good reason why he did not want his Cyborg to use that specific phrasing. And I think that adds another spotlight to the issue that we're dealt with. And I think it's really important to, I'm not saying just be on Ray's side and just be like, but just be open to what this man has to say.
Yeah, when people say I stand with Ray Fisher, I mean, that's just us saying, we're supporting whatever truth might come out of this, and not immediately, as Haruko was saying, shutting the guy down and shutting the voice down, because that's how you prevent these things, this truth from coming out, or at least us getting more accurate information. Do you agree as well, Haruko?
Absolutely, I agree with what you just said. Because like as you and Manu said earlier, this could probably damage his career. So there's a lot riding on it. Obviously, he wants to get the truth out there, and we should be able to hear the truth. whether we like the truth or not is irrelevant.
Yeah,
we have to hear the truth.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you don't like it. It doesn't mean that it's not true. And I think that that's really important. Sometimes I think it's a very human reaction to not want our heroes taken down, to not want the image that we have of certain people to be destroyed. And again, I think that that's something that has been reflected in Zack's films as well.
Right.
So I understand why it's so hard, but I think that we shouldn't shy away from the discussion or from the conversation. And on the contrary, we should be asking for more information and wanting to know more.
Yeah, and I think over the course of this next year, as he continues to come forward and we get a little bit more, then, it's, as I was saying with Geoff, like, yeah, we can enjoy his work or his comics, but if someone is not treating another person or other people the way he needs to, he doesn't need to be working in that industry. Mm-hmm. And that works with any job you work at.
Yeah.
There's basic rules to how you conduct yourself, and if he was upholding certain behaviors, because we're kind of cutting out a little bit of Joey's behavior here, but that's because of the more recent news with Geoff. But if you're not stopping this thing either, you're just as you're letting this happen and you're upholding it too. So yeah. It's ridiculous, and I it's one thing that you as you learn more information, you have to adjust your position on things. And right. I was hyper focused on Joss Whedon because he was the director and we knew more about that situation. And now we're getting this. Me as a fan of his 9 years of Green Lantern, it's like, all right, he wrote these great books, and I don't know how he behaved himself in the offices, but in this situation, now we know this. It's not cool.
Right. It's not. And you're right. We can't forget Joey. We can't forget that. I mean, from everything that we come out about how he treated the cast, or even the way he spoke about Zack, I think it was incredibly disrespectful. And again, I just think that the truth should have its day. Like we should just be able to know what happened, and then if these things are true, if there were laws that were broken, if it went past the point of like stepping on people's dignities, then I really hope that something is done about that, because people shouldn't be working in these conditions in any industry. I mean, like, even I'm just asking people, like, if you were at your job and somebody came and just threaten your entire career, I'm sure you wouldn't like that very much. And imagine if you spoke out about it and you were ignored and you were belittled. I think that, like, as a person, imagine how that would make you feel. It's only about having a little bit of empathy. I don't think it's any more than that. Like, it's just about trying to understand another person's viewpoint, perspective, and their own experience.
That's what I love about this whole movement. It's more than, a movie. There's so much ingrained into this, and we're all very passionate about just doing the next right thing and figuring out what the next thing that we as a force, as Haruko was saying, or as a movement, can do to help out, whether it's for donating for a cause, for helping out these people that worked on these characters that we adore. Like, all of that, I think we're really not going to stop. I think the fire is brighter than ever under all of us, because yes, we are getting, Zack Snyder's Justice League, but now that we have that momentum going, it's like, let's do good as well by helping out and listening, as Haruko was saying too, and figuring out where we're needed next. And I think this is far from over. I think the movement is going to be united for many years to come, just based on everything that happened out of this film leading up to it, and then now afterward.
I completely agreed.
So as we close out, I got to say, it was an awesome discussion. I'm really happy we got to touch on, the very serious nature of what we're learning, and also celebrate what we are, this victory that we're getting and how we're going to feel in about a week. I think it's really exciting times to be a comic book superhero DC fan right now. It's awesome. So let's let everyone know where they can find you. Let's start off with you, Manu.
People can find me on Twitter at manunited0710. And if they want to keep listening to me, they can listen to the podcast that I'm part of. It's the Exiles Network. You can follow us on Twitter as well at the Exiles Net. And I've also been working on a few things with the RTSC account,
Nice.
which we're going to start, showing you guys in the coming weeks and months. So it's stuff that I'm incredibly excited about. And I think it goes to what Dan was saying, that the movement is not going anywhere. We're going to stay united. We're going to keep working on things and doing things, because I feel like we're really part of something that's once in a lifetime, and we can do good. We can do good. Like, I feel like this is just the start. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. We got some amazing content coming. It's going to be great. It's going to be dope.
Cannot wait. How about you, Haruko? Where can they find you?
Well, my Twitter, which is just my name but squished together. So Haruko Hitomi on Twitter. I have a Vero. How do you pronounce that? Vero.
I always say Vero.
Vero, which is Haruko Hitomo. I don't know why I think that was a typo on my part. I have no idea how I did that. I have an Instagram, which is the same as my Twitter with one extra I. And I have a YouTube channel for my podcast, which I'm getting started again because I took a break for the summer, but I'm getting back into it. It's The Proper Animals. Just search up the channel, do the filter thing, go to channel, and you should be able to find it. So
check it out. It's good.
Yeah, thank you.
He can't even clap his hands. He can't even clap his hands.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was a petty thing on my part. I apologize for that. But
No. You don't have to apologize. If anything, you were too nice.
Oh yeah, to that guy, definitely.
Oh, to that, he was just going on.
Thank you guys for having me once again back on the round tables. It's always a pleasure to be here. Always a pleasure to see you, Dan. It was nice to see you, Manu. It was nice to chat with you guys and get this done. I'm excited to see what content that you, Manu, and the account are gonna push out. And I'm feeling reinvigorated with this movement, man. So let's get it going.
Absolutely. And you can find me on Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke. You can head on over to thereasonsimbroke.com. And that's where we have our weekly podcast where we cover mainly DC, but it's more than the films. We have the comics, the animated, all kinds of huge DC shills, or DC belugas, as we say on there. But I want to say it has been an absolute pleasure to have the privilege to do this again, and to do it once again with Haruko and with Manu. First time doing it, the Snyder Cut with Manu, which is awesome. And Haruko, you coming through and coming on the Snyder Cut roundtables again. It is an absolute pleasure. It is an honor. And this whole slate of guests and hosts have been amazing. So I feel very privileged to be a part of it. And huge thanks to both of you.
Hold on. Did you say the award-winning Reasons I'm Broke? Because you got to say the whole thing. You got to say the whole thing. The award-winning Reasons I'm Broke.
He's not lying. I'll leave it there.
It's an awesome podcast. I love it. It's so great.
Thank you. All right. Thank you both once again, and to the Release the Snyder Cut movement and account for having all three of us on. And be sure to stay tuned to the next one as well, because there's going to be, just like the record of previous hosts and guests, there's going to be another great roundtables coming your way. So thank you all so much.